Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by Mana Traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like you. My name is Evan Irwin, and get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Power Dragon.
What's up, everybody? And man, I feel like this week is kind of chill compared to the last few weeks that we had to talk about, but we'll see.
The internet's Ruben Bressler.
Yeah, the fire hose is at a reasonable flow this week. It's not like we're light. It's not like we don't have nothing to talk about. But last week was a lot. Last week was a bit much.
Last week we had quite a few things to touch on. This week,
but we've got some axes to grind this week. We've got a couple of things to Yeah,
now if you missed our pre-show, patrons can get access to our extended version right after we get done with the live show. We kick it off with our first pick. Our first pick being it's Avatar time, everybody. I hope y'all are ready, because what is not slowing down is the release of Magic Cardboard. The Wizard Squares that we love so much are coming faster than ever, and we have a first look here at collecting Avatar: The Last Airbender, which gives us some previews. It shows off the super cool set expansion symbols and whatnot, which are cool, which I think are really cool and evocative for what it's worth.
Yes.
Again, knowing Avatar, this all looks pretty rad. And it also finally explained what all of these bending things do, and I'm really surprised that this is, as far as I know, just in this set alone, we're not really going to see water bending, fire bending, whatever, earth bending in any other set, because it's just kind of only here.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
Very, very insular, very very in and of itself. Now that means we at least know what some of this means, like air bending, for example, as we can see on Appa, Steadfast Guardian, which is a mythic in the set, which I think is actually pretty cool. 2 white, 2 generic mana for a 3/4 mythic legendary Bison ally. Remember, allies are coming back in this set.
right.
It has flash and flying. Has a 3/4 flash flying for 4 mana. Okay, we're in. Let's do it. When it enters, airbend any number of other target non-land permanents you control. This means to exile them. While each one is exiled, its owner may cast it for 2 generic mana rather than its mana cost. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, you create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So It is the setup, it is the payoff, it is the package, all in and of itself. All you need are other creatures to essentially flash out, and then you can just play them again for 2 generic mana and get all of their sweet bonuses all over again. I think this card is cool, and from what I can tell, represents the character pretty well.
Yeah,
you know what that card's so good at? Saving creatures from a wrath.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Day of Judgment? Great.
Yeah.
I'll just lose my Appa, and then I'll just pay 2 and get some guys back next turn.
Yeah, I mean, a 3/4 flash flyer for 4 mana. I mean, those are Restoration Angel stats, and that card ran the world for a little while. We've had a few other 3/4 flash flyers for 4 mana in the past.
Yeah.
This one being able to Guardian Spirits your team, or get you a ton of value on like re-entry effects, not to mention getting those 1/1s on the way back in. There's a lot to like about this card.
Yeah, this card is really cool. And yeah, we've had a couple, we've had
any non-land.
Yeah.
Not just creatures.
Also,
whoa, it does.
Let's talk about like the artwork they've shown so far. Like, it's very cool.
Yeah,
like,
it seems super rad. We'll get to some more pieces here in a bit, but it also has that cool like little swirly thing in the background. That's the airbend sign, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct? That's the symbol of the air nomads. Guys, we're about to... I know we aren't at Spider-Man yet. I'll need help with Spider-Man when we get to Spider-Man, because I'll
be able to help you out a little bit there.
Great. When we get to Avatar, we get into Ruben Wheelhouse.
Yeah, you're gonna need to help us, bro.
I'll feed you baby birds. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
this is the symbol. This is the symbol of the air nomads. So a bunch of the cards that
Let
have
your mouth,
air
pharmacist
bending.
judge. F the Eldrazi.
So the air nomads are the folks that have that symbol. They have lots of centers, as we'll discuss probably once we get to the shrines portion of the previews. But yeah, all of it seems like any card that has bending of the elemental types is going to have one of those background card types.
Nice. Well, we move on here to water bending from Katara, Water Tribe's Hope, for 2 blue, a white, and 2 generic mana. So for 5 mana, it's a 3/3 rare legendary human warrior ally with vigilance. And whenever she enters, you make a 1/1 white ally creature token, and you water bend X generic mana. Creatures you control have base power and toughness X/X until end of turn. X cannot be 0. Activate only during your turn. So while paying a water bend cost, you can tap your artifacts and creatures to help, Each one pays for 1 generic mana. So you can tap all of your treasure tokens or whatever, or your food tokens to help waterbend, or your other creatures if you want to kind of do a convoke thing. But she can essentially make all your creatures one XX, army all at once.
So whereas airbending is a sort of triggered ability that allows you to move things around, waterbending is a cost reduction ability that is not a trigger or an activation. It's just sort of a mix between like improvise and convoke and sort of ability to pay for things and move energy around in the way that waterbending does.
And so what is that watermark thing?
So that watermark is in particular, I believe, specifically the Southern Water Tribe. The Northern Water Tribe, the Southern Water Tribe are the two main water tribes in the world of Avatar. There are other water benders in the world, most notably the swamp benders of the Bentu people. But primarily because Katara and Sokka are from the Southern Water Tribe, they're going to have a lot of the focus. And so I think that's specifically the symbol. I think it could be both, but I'm pretty sure it's just Southern.
All right. Well, Toph, the first metal bender, is also here for Naya mana and 1 generic mana. So white, green, red, and 1 generic mana for a 3/3 rare legendary human warrior ally. It says non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. They don't gain the ability to tap for mana, though. They're just now lands. And at the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2, which means target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 2+1/+1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. So earthbending rather cannot set you up to lose your lands or lose your non-artifact or non-token artifacts that are now lands as well as their other types. But I think that's really cool. That creates a situation where you don't get blown out by using this ability.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have anything else to do for the turn and they just have like 1 blocker and you're like, you know what? I'm going to spend like 4 mana, 6 mana. I'm just getting in with these 2/2s. I don't care if you block one of them. I'm just getting it back anyway.
Exactly.
So just keep firing them in there.
It also resets the land. So you get a landfall trigger. If you have lands that have effects when you sacrifice or destroy them, such as Wasteland or Strip Mine, works really well together as well. So there's a lot to like about earthbending.
Yeah,
this one, to my mind, looks to me to be the most standard competitive ability just at base. Because it makes creatures. Like things that create additional power, oftentimes even the average ones end up seeing play. And Toph in particular, allowing your artifacts to do the same thing, to reset artifact enters the battlefield triggers or leaves triggers, is also noteworthy.
Yeah, I think there's a reason this has 3 toughness, versus what I can imagine will be 4 or even 5 based on its mana cost, these days. Because it's got to be a little bit, got to be able to kill it somehow, because it's really annoying. Firebending is really interesting.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Fire Lord Zuko. This is for Mardu mana, black, white, and red. He is a 2/4 rare legendary human noble ally with Firebending X, where X is Fire Lord Zuko's power. And what Firebending X means is whenever this creature attacks, add X red mana to your mana pool. This mana lasts until end of combat. Whenever you cast a spell from exile and whenever a permanent you control enters from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Now, the only thing about this is that based not on just sort of what it's doing, but also other cards that we may look at later, I think Firebending is like a really bad ability for new players. If someone comes and plays Magic to start with, you have to explain there's a combat step, the mana pool, when it empties, when you can do stuff, these timing windows, all these things have timing windows usually within combat steps. If you don't use it, you lose it. All this type of stuff I think is kind of difficult on what I think would be a new player targeted set.
That was the same thought I had when I saw it. It's just, of all the abilities, this is the one I went, man, I kind of see what you're going for here, but I don't know if new fans to the game that are coming in because of the property are going to immediately understand it.
Yeah, this one was, I like, from a flavor perspective, it makes perfect sense because fire bending is the most offensive of the abilities. I think that allowing you access to additional energy while you're in an offensive position makes total sense for fire bending. But I do agree with you guys that it is the most complicated for a brand new player to understand. There's also the added side effect detraction that a red mana symbol has to be in the reminder text, which brings us back to the old extort drawback of color identity, where this if you have a card that has firebending that doesn't have red in its casting cost already, it's going to be confusing because red is not in the color identity of that card.
Right, because the red mana symbol is in the reminder text.
Right.
So it's not part of the color identity. So if someone has firebending but isn't a red card, it can still go in that commander deck, and that's weird.
So that's a little bit of an issue. But I like that this helps combat tricks. I think that it's fun. Overall, I think it's super flavorful. I like it. I also like that this card in particular, Fire Lord Zuko, with white in its casting cost, interacts very favorably, specifically with airbending, because you want to play things from exile. And we've got Aang in the background of the art for this Fire Lord Zuko, showcasing, spoiler alert, they become friends at the end. And I think that that's really cute.
Neat. I think this other card they note here for firebending, which doesn't really have firebending, but either way is a really cool mythic. I love it, but I also know in my Timmy heart that this is never going to be that good and constructed. It might not even be that great and casual. I don't care because I love it. Faded Firepower is a mythic red card, and it's hard to design good mythic red cards, quite frankly. And so I think this is a good one. Faded Firepower is 3 red X generic mana for a mythic enchantment with flash. Let's go. This enchantment enters with X fire counters on it. Yes, as it should. Because what's that symbol for? Is that the fire people?
That's the Fire Nation.
Fire Nation, okay. Now, and it says, if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus an amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on this enchantment instead. I think this ability is super cool, super rad. Surprised you are going to be taking an absolute crap ton of damage. That is fantastic. But like, give me some flavor wins on this, Ruben. What's going on here exactly?
Yeah, so there's something interesting happening with Faded Firepower where so first of all, this interacts really well with firebending as an ability, right? Because you get all that extra mana in your combat step, which is super nice to have on a mythic, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, this is my boy. This is my boy, Uncle Iroh, former general of the Fire Nation armies. Let's go. In his leveled up, like, beefy state, where he sort of like, this is like the king has returned moment. You guys done effed up, where he sort of, there's a moment in season 3 where he's sort of like, has anyone ever told you why I'm called the Dragon of the West? And everybody looks at each other and he goes, well, this is why. And then he freaking breathes fire at them. And it's great. And that's sort of the moment that we're capturing here.
Nice.
You gotta love a jacked 80-year-old man in the middle of a piece of art.
It's like the FO moment of the FA.
That's good.
That's fantastic. I love that. And I'm a stupid dude who head was not exactly putting together the firebending and this spell, which I should have, but here we are.
Because then all you really need is like a couple of lands available, and you get to do it for at least 2.
Right.
Oh,
now, there is a star in the middle of the art that I'm just noticing, and that might be Sozin's Comet, which the comet's arrival powered up firebenders, like the arrival of the comet in the around in space around the planet, I guess.
And then Iroh is like, more
so firebenders all got more powerful during the comet, whereas they were all depowered during the eclipse. So there's a lot of different things happening.
All I know is I'm losing to Faded Firepower on more than one occasion. I know it.
Sure.
Right. Well, now we know via Avatar Aang what firebending and waterbending and earthbending are, and airbending.
Right.
So now we know how we can trigger.
So now we know why he has firebending too. Is he just triggers when he attacks? So I like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Which is cool and interesting. And of course, here are some battle pose cards, which are super rad. Ruben, I can imagine these are approved.
These are great. These are from the intro to the show. So the opening of the show.
I recognize those.
The opening of the show is fire, water, earth, air. Long ago, the 4 nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all 4 elements, could bring them together. But when the world needed him most, he vanished, etc., etc. Anyway, so we have in the intro to the show these colorful backgrounds with these characters in silhouette doing moves that are iconic to that bending style.
Yeah.
And so these paying tribute to the opening sequence of the show is super iconic.
Very cool. So I won't go over every last card here, but I do want to go over one more just because it tells a story, and Ruben can help us with that story, and that's
Sure.
trying to tell. So the Rise of Sozin is a 2 black, 4 generic mana enchantment saga. It is mythic. We're in mythic territory, y'all. For 6 mana, first thing it does is destroy all creatures. Just get out of here. The second is cranial extractions. You choose a card name, search their target opponent's graveyard, hand, or library for up to 4 cards with that name and exile them. Not to mention, it's not even cranial extraction. You can name a basic land if you want to. It does say name a card.
Because it says up to 4. It doesn't get all copies.
I see.
It just says up to 4. Then that player shuffles. Okay, so part 3, exile this saga, return it to the battlefield transformed. It transforms into a 5/5 Fire Lord Sozin. This is a legendary creature, human noble, 5/5 with menace and firebending 3. And whenever he whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you may pay X generic mana. When you do, put any number of target creature cards with total mana value X or less from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And because firebending has the ability when you're attacking, that means you have 3 mana. So 3 mana plus whatever else you need to grab one of their creatures. Ruben, what the hell is going on with Firelord Sozin with here?
So Firelord Sozin is a legendary figure in the world of the show. He never appears in reality. He only arrives in flashback. Sozin is the grandfather, maybe great grandfather of Zuko, who's the main kid character in the show. I'm not getting my family exactly right. I think that his son was Ozai, which means his grandson is Zuko. So Sozin is the reason why the Fire Nation attacked in that long ago. The Fire Nation attacked. He waited for Sozin's comet to arrive, what's now called Sozin's comet to arrive, and enacted war upon the rest of the world.
So this is Sozin of Sozin's comet fame.
This is Sozin of Sozin's comet fame.
Okay.
He did so in an effort to eradicate the air nomads, because the avatar cycle, you know which nation the next avatar will be born into. And at the time, there was a fire avatar, an avatar of fire, avatar Roku, who was friends with Sozin. But unfortunately, Roku did not see what his friend was preparing and planning and could not stop what occurred. The next avatar was to be an airbender, and so Sozin attempted to remove all airbenders from the equation as an effort to take over the world, because he knew that the way that he could get stopped was by the avatar, the master of all 4 elements.
I see.
And so this was this is a chilling story for a kids show. This is a terrifying prospect for a show that's rated Y7 on Nickelodeon. But he was victorious in his time. And the Fire Nation took over the world and implemented incredible changes on the world, and people of all the other nations lived in fear. And he created many enemies, and then his son, Ozai, took over, voiced by Mark Hamill, and continued that tradition of violence and fire. And Zuko, the Crown Prince, who is the main character of the show, who's this sort of like teenager during the show, voiced by Dante Bosco, or Donnie Bosco, ends up rejecting at the end of the show his father's and grandfather's mission, which was to take over the world for the Fire Nation, and instead is able to bring the nation back together in harmony in partnership with the Avatar. Sozin is a terrifying figure, and he's a horrific historical example of tyranny and oppression. And that story is told very well on this card, because he waited for the comet to arrive to destroy all creatures, and then he went after the air nomads and chose a card name, and you could choose Aang as the card name. That would be kind of what you're trying to do as Fire Lord Sozin. And then his reign as the Fire Lord is on the back, recruiting more people to his cause.
Nice. Yeah, apparently Zuko's great granddad and Sozin is Iroh and Sozai's grandfather,
Yeah.
great grandfather to
Ozai.
Zuko.
Yeah.
Sozai? Ozai?
Ozai.
Ozai, okay.
Fire Lord Ozai.
Gotcha. Either way, and last bit I'll note here, someone does note from a rules and gameplay point of view, the fact that the Avatar set has 4 similarly named mechanics that do totally unrelated things is not a newer player-friendly move. It's the thrust of the set. It goes against all established precedents such as land walk and protection abilities.
You know what, though? I bet you it's not going to be that confusing for them. Like, because there's a lot of random games that have a lot of similarly named mechanics or whatever, just regardless if they play any other games at all. And if this is your first introduction to Magic, you're just going to learn what you learn.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to be
out. And if they're your favorite characters, you'll figure out how they work. And it's just like anything else. I think this boogeyman of like, oh God, it might be confusing, stopped a lot of cool stuff from happening in early Magic. And even in kind of like, sort of what I would call sort of Silver Age Magic. Because, oh no, somebody not understand, we can't do this. And when in actuality, we generally like complex things, even if they may sound a little,
Hey, we've also at a point where I want to say nerd culture is advanced, but it's just culture now.
It's culture.
Right? People are just experienced playing and trying a bunch of things in board games and video games. So we can get away with something like this. I think it's fine.
It also, as is mentioned in the chat, they're so resonant as abilities. They so well encapsulate the central ethos of what air, water, earth, and fire represent within the themes of the show, that I can forgive a little bit of complexity because they still contain depth. They still contain the requisite amount of payoff that that you're asking for with that higher cost of complexity.
I think the way that I would put it, basically, honestly, just like as a dad who has raised children, as a dad who has seen kids go through an education system, which now literally requires you, when you go into high school these days, you have to take a coding class. This might just be for, around here in Tennessee or whatever, but I can imagine it's similar. So children taking coding classes, growing up with iPads, growing up playing games that have large rule systems, crazy different upgrades, things, gotcha mechanics, and so on. If a card game's a little rough, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, in terms of like new players to the game and so on. And the new players also want to come to play the game. So
exactly. I also, as we transition out of this first topic and into something that I think is somewhat related, I do want to make a quick commentary on a discussion that appears in pretty much every Discord that I'm in that has to do with Magic the Gathering. And I imagine if I were still on Twitter, this conversation is happening on Twitter, it's happening on Reddit, it's happening all over the place, which is, what is this release schedule? Why are we releasing cards from Avatar before Spider-Man came out? Why are we talking about Spider-Man cards on Edge of Eternity's release weekend? Why is this being talked about now? Why are these cards being talked about now, et cetera, et cetera? So I wanted to briefly touch on this because we've talked about it during the pre-show, but I don't know if we've ever gotten it during the main show. And if you guys have stuff to add to this or correct on my behalf, I'm quite all right.
I can tell you why it is, but go ahead.
I mean, I know why it is too, but that's why we're here, is we're going to talk to the people.
Sure.
So there are 2 release schedules in my mind. Now, there are 2 release schedules. One is the Magic release schedule for Magic the Gathering sets that take place within the Magic the Gathering universe. And those are going to continue the way that they always have. We're going to have a nice ambassador and early access event schedule that's a couple weeks ahead. We're going to have preview cards that come out in a 2-3 week time frame. We're going to get those nice design articles that we get. We're going to get the voiceovers for the story. We're going to get the lore drops. Those are remaining the same. And if you check in on Aether Drift and Duskmourn and most recently Edge of Eternities, that holds true. Those are pretty much the same, with like a week or 2 notwithstanding. Like some of them are a little bit accelerated. That's a different schedule. A Magic player schedule is different than a normal citizen schedule. The normal citizen schedule cares about what's happening in the world and is very context dependent. And so we're going to get Spider-Man cards that come out at Comic-Con. We're going to get Avatar cards that come out at Comic-Con. And so they have to show up early. And when New York Comic-Con rolls around, we're going to get more stuff. And when the various industry conventions roll around, we're going to get those sets, things like Lord of the Rings and Assassin's Creed and Sonic at those events as well. And those are not going to make sense to us, and we're just going to have to live with it. You can either fight against that tide or you can let the waves wash over you. And that just is the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of what we're dealing with, right? I mean, we can be bothered by it, but it's just the way it kind of has to be. You got to market it in the spaces where it makes sense to market it. There's also some logic to it as well, as having some information out there helps retailers with pre-orders and, you know, planning your last quarter of the year budgets and whatever, right? So some of that is playing nice in that space as well.
Right, and that's basically all this is. Gather around, children. It's time for Grandfather Magic here to explain some stuff. Listen, back in the day, the distributors of the world, the large distributors, certainly in America, would all fly to Wizards, and Wizards would show them what we are seeing now. This right here, like what all the mechanics are doing. Here's some cool mythics. Here's some of the cool characters and whatever, some cards to get people excited. Maybe show you some like the special reprint stuff they're going to have or whatever, some special things they might throw in. And what would happen is leaks would show up and people would start talking about it, and they would be like, I know something like this, so-and-so at such and such cost, and things would be wrong, and people would get hyped over nothing, and misinformation would be out there, and potato photos of these images would show up or whatever. That would be terrible. And at one point, I can't remember exactly which point, but Wizards is like, screw it. Here it is. Here's the same stuff we showed to distributors, you know, and or retailers, because retailers need to get these products up for pre-order and so on. It's like, here's the stuff that's coming down the pike. Here's some of the special treatments. Yes, we're going to go way further down as we get closer to the November release date. But for now, this is why this is here. So they have to, now that we're releasing so many sets, these begin to like fall on top of each other. So we just saw Spider-Man, but we got to get this last Avatar information out there so distributors can be ready for it. And then we're going to go right back to Spider-Man and so on. So this back and forth thing is now our new normal, but it used to just be because there were so few sets that all of this kind of happened on a per set basis, and there was no overlap because there weren't enough sets coming out.
I think there's also the issue of when you're doing anything Universes Beyond or Secret Lair related with other stuff, you're also tying your stuff to their announcements and their release schedules and whatever. Because, you know, like you couldn't not talk about Magic and Spider-Man when the Comic-Con's going on and Marvel's like, hey, we want to show off these new action figures we have coming out that we're cross-branding with you guys, right? So you kind of have to talk about it at that point. And if I remember right, I think Avatar was supposed to have something come out like October 25, but now it's going to be January 26 because something got pushed back. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the timing lines up with some of that and some of their announcements and stuff too.
But the
25 is the 20th anniversary. So they really wanted it to line up there, but you know, timing be timing. Same thing
you want to make it
D&D.
right. Don't just put it out the door because the date says so or whatever.
Right. Oh, the new show is also a thing. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It got pushed back though. It was supposed to be October just before the release of the Magic set, but now it's going to be behind the Magic set in January.
But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for Avatar. I know that it's not going to get the Final Fantasy numbers, but I was not a Final Fantasy guy. You know, I wasn't. Was awesome. I'm not a Assassin's Creed guy. I'm not a Sonic guy. This is the first time since Lord of the Rings where I'm like, a thing I know. I'm on board. And
think about this though.
And that makes me very happy.
How crazy this year is that Avatar realistically could sell very well, right? It could be an $80 to $100 million set release.
For sure.
And it's probably third place.
Sure.
Behind Final Fantasy and Spider-Man. How crazy is that year for Magic?
Yeah. I don't think Spider-Man is going to have enough type of products or the depth of products, you know what I'm saying? Because it's such a small set and it's only just the booster set and there's no commander decks. It doesn't, I don't think, have a sort of a breadth of product to fight on that same level. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, I don't think it gets to Final Fantasy by any chance.
I don't think it gets to Avatar numbers, is what I'm saying. Because
I think it could outsell
there.
Avatar.
It could. I just think that next year's Marvel sets will absolutely demolish Avatar.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But I think as Spider-Man is an if, just because, again, smaller set, there's not enough products. There's no there is a collector booster, right? But
yeah,
there is also
but I think it's also with other sets, you're going to get X-Men, you're going to get Avengers, you know, like just more common household names other than just Spider-Man, really.
There you go. So let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk. Thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders, the best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MagicMikes_VG8 for 10% off your next subscription with Mana Traders. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. Let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk, where we talk about community issues and things. Stuff happening. There was a state of design article for 2025 from Mark Rosewater. I absolutely love these things. He's been doing them since 2005. A true piece of like historical documents of the game. The idea that this is the head designer and what he's thinking about and how he goes back and thinks about and reviews all of the releases for the previous year, which was great. I thought this was fun as always, which is really cool. If anything, I think he went far in depth. Like you can see some of these, we read some of these over the years. Sometimes it's just a few paragraphs and we move on. Like he goes on to what we learned, what we could have done better, and so on. And the only thing, we talked about this in the pre-show a little bit with a lot more colorful language. The only thing that I was disappointed in, at least in terms of hearing and response and so on, to me was Duskmorn. I thought Duskmorn was awesome. I thought Bloomborough and the Duskmorn was our Barbenheimer for Magic. Like it's crazy, but somehow they fit together and it's awesome and we love it because it's two ends of the string or whatever. And so you have this. I thought it was great, and I was like, are you telling me that players have some issues with one of the set's creative choices because you don't like sneakers, jeans, or baseball bats? And I'm like, we are doing 80s horror. There's remote controls and we're in televisions and your problem is the baseball bat? Like, I just can't. Don't come at me and say we're making an 80s set and don't let me do anything 80s. Like, come on. This is ridiculous.
You know what? People griped about it. They still handed over their $20 bills.
Hell yeah, they did.
Who cares?
It's ridiculous. I didn't, for what it's worth, I also didn't think the set had too much going on. I actually really liked it.
It really didn't.
All the different pieces worked together. I never felt like, oh God, I don't get it. I just thought like, oh, this works with that and this works with that. Rooms are cool. And, rooms are 2 enchantments in 1. High five.
Yeah.
Nothing we can't handle, But don't come at me with the sneakers, jeans, and baseball bats somehow make this set bad. You are
that was weird. That's a bad take. But I mean, I love Duskmorn too. I mean, I also am a big apologist for what people call bad sets. I think that there are, as I've said probably dozens of times on this show, I'd rather them take swings and miss. And I'd rather them try to flex their creative muscles. And they did some really excellent stuff in Bloomborough and Duskmorn and Aether Drift that are wonderful.
I think Aether Drift is like the worst set, and I mean, and we're talking like I say like a sort of probably a 6 out of 10 versus other sets which are just higher on the score, because it's not like it's like crap. It doesn't like suck. I just think of all these great sets, something's got to be the worst, and I think it's at the bottom. And I think there's a lot of good reasons for that. And one of the things we talked about was I think the 10 racing team thing was an absolute disaster. They should have been 5 racing teams for your 5 colors of Magic, and make everything ravel, go around those 5 different things so we can think about how one racing thing works. The green one is all about the nature and using nature fuel so on.
Yeah. I think that something that, so he touched a little bit on this in his article where he said that having 3 planes and 10 racing teams, plus a bunch of people from other settings, made things too complicated. So I agree that the knob that we could twist down is from 10 to 5. I think that's probably that's a good takeaway.
Yeah. I think Aether Drift has a ton of potential. I think a racing set still can be great. I think you can still come right back to this and make it cool and interesting. Pare it down, boil it down to what's cool and fun about vehicles and doing vehicle things. And let's go there. I thought that was neat and fun. I think Torquir was great.
And commit to flavor. That was my big gripe.
And just let's do some more flavor.
Commit to silly and crazy, or commit to super serious death race. Give me one or the other.
Figure it out. And Final Fantasy just killed it on like every level. Who's going to Final Fantasy? Which was great. All right, let's move on here to the Arena Championship Roundup. Power Dragon, how'd it go? We're all sad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the cat's out of the bag on this one. I don't have to really dance around it too much.
Yeah.
I will say this though. The play, I think, to be said, I think a lot of people think like, oh, these aren't household names. These aren't pro players. These aren't like fantastically well played Magic all weekend. Like, so credit to the players, because I think that does go overlooked with the Arena Championships all the time, because I think people just go, oh, these are just some bums who got lucky playing Magic in their bedroom, whatever. But like, no, these are actual high quality players, and they're playing for a crap ton of money. There's $250,000 in prizes that were given away. So, across these, 37 players.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the story coming out of it, which actually end up being repeated as a story later that weekend, and we'll talk about that in a second, is that the VV Cauldron decks were everywhere, right?
Bruh.
More than half the field of your 37 players.
Bruh.
Not really a surprise at all. I mean, it's kind of what we expected. I will say this, though. There was a Sultai deck and a Teamer deck that actually bricked, and just coincidentally, both of them in the round of 8 bricked their draws twice in a row that could have won. So, like, I'll just put that out there. But
Yeah.
the fact that so many people believe in the deck, and, you know, it's just going to get played for sheer numbers. And the deck itself isn't that complicated to play. The mirrors are actually very technically difficult, but the actual deck itself is kind of straightforward. And then once you get your pieces, you just go off because you have infinite mana to spend effectively.
Yeah.
Right? That's the real issue. But what we saw also as the follow-up was that there was a Mitgo challenge that happened as well. I think had almost 240 players.
Right.
Yeah.
And had identical results to the top 16. It was 12 of 16 were VV Cauldron decks.
12 of 16. The Showcase Challenge event.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Won by Dimir Aggro. Which is the only saving grace of that
was nice.
of that one.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was 12 of 16. It was 6 of the top 8 in the standard showcase, whereas it was 7 of the top 8 in the arena challenge. All of the top 4 in the arena championship were these Cauldron decks. So it is a problem. And when you get those numbers, something's got to go, or else nobody's going to play.
Yeah. I would expect within the next 2 weeks, if we see the other tournaments coming in and you start seeing weekly Magic Online stuff kind of mirroring these results, I think the chorus will just become too loud for them to ignore.
Yeah, Wizards, look, man, I know you got your BNR in November scheduled or whatever. You're going to have to do an emergency one. I'm sorry. You broke it. 0 : add mana was dumb. I don't know how
Here's the thing, though. If that's all the card did,
if that's all
we'd almost be okay.
Even still,
but it also does damage, and it also adds mana.
And it gets larger, and whatever, right? It does all these things. It's like that's the problem,
right? It does
doing so much,
right? It does 3 cards worth of stuff on 1 card,
on a 3 mana card. That's the thing.
And if it's just one of those things where you go back to those conversations, and I'm just like, I know Wizards was just like, we can't do 0 : anything because it's too scary. And I'm like, okay, what do you put on 0 : making mana? And then you make this other thing that works perfectly, even if this guy dies? And I'm like, God almighty. And look, sometimes it's not always this clear. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're in a monstrous rate situation where it's arguable and it's just a pump spell and blah, blah, blah. And you make tons of arguments. To me, there's no argument here. This is great. This is a warping card. It will warp the entire format for as long as it exists in it. And it will only continue to dominate more as people get better at the deck. You know what I mean? There's going to be iterations of this deck that are even better than what we got right now.
I'll say this too. I feel like, there were some comparisons to this being like the One Ring, and Wizards didn't want to ban the Run Wing because people were buying Lord of the Rings boosters or whatever to get it. Like, I don't know that we can clearly say that people were buying Final Fantasy boosters to get the VV card, because we had already sold, $200 million. On the first couple of days, right?
Everything you got. It didn't matter.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. And I almost feel like by not banning it, you almost create a different problem, because people are like, oh, well, they're not going to ban it. I'm going to go pick it up.
I'm going to pay $600 plus extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, just for the Cauldrons and the VVs, it's like $600.
That's kind of the issue I have. Now that we waited, now you have the issue of if you ban it, now you have more angry people. Had you just done it with that banning, whatever, a month ago at this point, 5 weeks ago, and then it would have been a little more palatable, I think, for people.
And we lived through Jace getting banned. The world doesn't end.
Oh, sure.
The value is going to be affected, like the value is always affected, but it's also unbelievable in older formats, and Commander loves it. So, and God knows how long it's going to be legal in other formats, which makes you go, why is it legal in Standard? Because it's already doing stupid stuff here.
And it is going to be powerful in older formats, but the fact that any card is still useful in older formats, even if it's not busted, tells you it's probably a bit strong for Standard. Just on its face, right?
Just a thing. Now we do want to move in here to congratulate Tappy Toe Claws for breaking $5,000.
Yeah,
and their support for their local LGBTQ community center up in Milwaukee, which is brilliant. And congratulations to them. And I think they're still going to keep on rocking. some.
Yeah, they
fashion.
are currently streaming. So
Nice.
if you want to,
Tappy deserves all your love and support.
Channel.
I'll be willing to go to the mat for them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go.
And
tell her
it's
to set
also, we're old fogies here, but it is worth noting that the lifespan of like a content creator is usually like what, 3 years, 5 years, something like that.
Some 7, 8.
She's been around longer than
been around
that.
for a good long while.
It's hard
Yeah.
to keep that energy up. It's hard to be so like be a leader and be so big and so boisterous in anything. And so
And when she's a mainstay at every event, like packs multiple cosplay costumes, like the whole 9 yards.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Last little bit here, I want to take a look at the Alpha Wrath of God is now up for sale. They are taking offers.
So this is the art.
This is just for the art of the Wrath of God, Alpha Wrath of God. And if you have to ask how much it's going to be sold for, you can't afford it.
Right.
Just let it go. If there are not many zeros at the end of that number, don't even bother talking about it. Or talking to them about it, in terms of purchasing, because this is the type of stuff that'll go for 6 figures, is my guess.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe mid 6 figures, question mark.
This is interesting. It's from the actual owner, because I was curious, because I know there was some type of weird thing with Quentin Hoover's estate and the artwork or whatever. So this is cool. So this is just coming from a private collection.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever this stuff comes out, it's really cool. Anything Alpha shows up, the ears perk up, because there's so much art being pushed into the market from Magic these days. Thousands of pieces a year. Thousands.
Didn't Crawworm go for like 60,000 or 70,000, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, and that was a Crawworm.
If this goes for less than $250,000, I will be absolutely shocked.
So the current record, I had it somewhere. I feel like the current record is something like that. It's something like $250,000. And this is gonna be right there. I don't know that it'll break it. It might break it just because whatever is the most recently sold thing oftentimes breaks the record.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because A, inflation, obviously, and B, it's as things get older, they get more cherished. The nostalgia gets greater and the value gets higher and so on.
Yeah.
So,
well, and Quentin Hoover passed a while ago too. So
there
ain't no new Quentin Hoover art showing up.
Exactly. So this is a piece of history, Magic history, in the telling. And if I had infinite buku bucks, I would have this on my wall, 100%. Got some billionaire out there who likes Magic, they'll buy this.
It's funny you mentioned that, though. Because I was talking to somebody maybe 2 weeks ago about just artwork in culture and in nerddom and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was doing the math, and I'm pretty sure Wizards of the Coast might be the largest owner of fantasy art at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're talking about they have to commission, a couple thousand pieces a year?
Oh, yeah.
If
you go on ArtStation, it all looks like people who want to work for Wizards.
Yeah. That's
what
crazy
fantasy art looks like now.
Yeah, for sure.
They have the rights to an insane amount of artwork.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild to consider.
Yeah, and one of those, as AI is continuing to do AI things, and as things get touchy-feely now, 10 years from now, attitudes are going to be different. 20 years from now, attitudes are going to be different. And when you have that amount of art that you can then transform with all these different weird tools that they're going to have that we don't even know what's going to exist yet, that's a hell of a thing. That's a hell of a treasure trove.
We're not even talking about all the artwork they get for D&D and for their board games and whatever. It's an insane amount.
Crazy stuff. So let's turn the corner here. Actually, just real quick, we got to touch on this splash damage. If y'all see this safe cracking Instagram reel,
yeah,
it is wild.
So this came from a safe cracking Instagram person who goes.
Oh yeah, I saw that a couple weeks ago actually.
And they found what looks to me, I don't know if you're putting it up on the screen for the folks to see, but it looks to me like a Fallen Empire.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was, if I remember right.
And boxes of Mirage.
And boxes of Mirage.
Boxes of Mirage. And some other sort of promo stuff. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, they're this whole.
But this is multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of Magic cards just found in this safe, which I thought was hilarious.
And the guy keeps calling it trash.
I know. That was so mad.
Destroys my soul. These got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cards in there, And it's just like, he don't care. He's like, this is trash, and I got to
it's
get rid of it, and I
hilarious.
got to clean it
You know,
out. And I'm like, dude.
To
oh my
that point,
God.
though, before storage auctions got to be a big thing because of the TV shows or whatever,
Yeah.
which, by the way, if you've ever been to one, they are nothing like the TV shows. They are boring and very
Yeah, they
uninteresting.
are.
Those are all set up, by the way, your storage
But-
wars or whatever.
I used to go to those regularly, and I never bought a locker because I would just look and see like, oh, this has like a big Rubbermaid tote that's got like magic cards and D&D books or whatever, Pokemon stuff or whatever, things that I know I could turn. So I would just wait till somebody else bought it, and I knew they thought it was junk. So I'd just be like, hey, if you don't mind, like if you're not interested in those, I'll take those for like $200 or whatever. And they only paid like $500 for the locker or whatever.
Right.
So they're happy to get, 40% of their money back or whatever. Sweet.
Oh yeah,
Right.
flip it right there. Let's go.
Yeah, because they just view it as junk all the time.
If,
So some of them I just gave my business card to, and they just started bringing stuff to the shop.
I
Yeah.
also appreciate how this guy does not open it. He's like,
Yeah.
I unlock it and then you open it. So I
Yeah.
didn't do anything or touch anything or change anything.
Yep,
Right.
he did his job and then
Yeah.
got out of the way.
It's
I mean,
full of tea, lol.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like,
it
look
took
at
us
this
a while.
dual lands. This man's got dual lands in his hand. Box of Forgotten or Fallen Empires.
Fallen Empires. But unopened and fully cellophaned box of Fallen Empires.
Oh my god.
Looks and full dual lands.
some kind of like art
and-
prints or something.
Art
Yeah.
prints of dual lands, it looks
Box of
like.
Mirage are back in there somewhere.
And this guy keeps calling it junk, and it's
Oh
like,
my
hey man,
God.
if you want to get rid of that junk, you give me a call.
The thing
I'll
is,
pick it
though,
up.
Just
it's
calling it
like-
trash. I swear
It's
to
like
God.
so much stuff though that people to go get these units, they're looking for certain things, right?
Sure.
When they're cracking safes or whatever, they're just
Right.
looking for particular things that they know about that they can flip.
Gold,
everything
silver,
else-
bonds, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they just jewelry, they just get whatever they
exactly.
can.
Right. It's just wild. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And
Right.
one man's trash, I guess, is
Yeah.
Totally.
there. Turn the corner here to the finisher. Now, the festival in a box for Atlanta got announced and shown off this week, and it includes some excellent humorous prints of fan favorites. Pack Rat, Opening a Pack, Sylvan Offering, Offering a Trade, Shared Summon, Summoning Creatures, and Sliver Legion sitting on a content creator signing. We love a good in-joke for the in-crowd, so tell me, what would you like to see get that same fun festival in a box treatment, Ruben?
Yeah, these looked really cool. And if I'm wrong about the Sliver Legion and what the picture is telling there, let me know. But that's what it looked like to me. Travel to conventions can be rough. Air travel can be a nightmare, in particular with baggage fees and Ubers and turbulence and all that. Fortunately, you can mitigate those feel bads with the newest festival promo, Jet Medallion, which also doubles as a Delta Lounge Pass.
Yeah. In
That'd be pretty
cooperation with
sweet.
Delta Corporation. You know what I mean?
Get some lounge passes with magic art on them.
Very, very nice. I would like it. Power Dragon?
Well, we've had some great destination locations for Magic so far, but at this point, Las Vegas is going to be home, it seems. So we're looking forward to a future promo paying tribute to the RNG capital of the world with the brand new promo of Birds of Pair of Dice.
Oh. Very nice. Very nice. Now, look, there's almost nothing that feels better in Magic than wheeling a card you desperately wanted that you passed earlier in the draft. So I'd absolutely love to see that moment encapsulated on one of my favorite cards of all time, Wheel of Fortune. Alternatively, there is the moment that you fail to do the same thing and then you get a Wheel of Misfortune.
Right.
Yeah,
Which are
fair.
both cards and both see
Yep.
play. So
I can't believe Wheel of Fortune is expensive as it is. I really
I
can't.
know.
Yeah, it is.
It's unbelievable to know how many copies I had back in the day that were just sitting in a binder because no one wanted them, because it's a silly old card, and here we are. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Power Dragon.
Yeah, it was a fun show, man. Hopefully everybody enjoys this one. We've covered a lot of ground.
There
Yeah.
you go. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you guys. This was exciting. Do check out the top 10 that we recorded yesterday as well, which is our top 10 secret lairs. And we're going to be coming out with more content like that.
There you go. We want to hear to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, Power Dragon and Ruben Bressler, viewers like you for watching or listening. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us on our exclusive member Discord, subscribe to our Patreon, join us live on Twitch, join us live or taped on YouTube, check us out on TikTok, follow us on Blue Sky, or join us here next week. Same time, same place for another episode of Magic Mike's. Good night, everybody.